Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. It is Dreadful D with D's Dreadful Creations. So today I'm going to show you how to make a Halloween wreath that's spooky, has doll heads in it. Basically I went shopping for a Halloween wreath and couldn't find anything that I really liked, so I decided to make one myself. So all of the supplies today you can get from the dollar store other than spray paint. So the things that we're going to need is a wreath wire, some leaf garland, just a couple of varieties. So I have a leaf garland here, and then I have a wreath garland with some berries on it. And then I have some pumpkins and pine cones in a little assortment. I have the doll heads, which are really creepy. These are $2 at the dollar store. It's amazing. And then finally, you're going to need some just little wires to attach everything to the wreath, as well as some zip ties. And finally, to finish it off, you'll use a little bit of some lights, and you'll need some batteries for that light pack. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is we're going to grab our wreath wire, just remove any price tags or anything that's on there, and you're going to take some of the garland. So I'll start with this one, and we want our wreath at the end to be black, so we're going to spray paint everything black. That's why we have the spray paint afterwards. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to wire it in between the wire, the wreath wire, and hold it into place either with, you can use the zip ties, which are really easy, so you can just zip tie them to any of the wire around the hanger, or you can use some of the little wires that we have just to hold it in place as we go around. So I will start off by attaching this with a zip tie. So at the very end of this garland, there's a huge long stem. I don't need all of that, so I'm actually going to take a pair of scissors and just cut off a lot of that excess. And then we'll take that end and just wrap it in between. I'm going to go under, wrap it around. And then I'm going to use one of my zip ties. The zip ties that I got are clear, but if you can find them in black, that would be better, because the wreath is going to be black and it'll be easier for them to disappear. But we are using the clear ones, and we will, like I said, spray paint everything black at the end, so hopefully you don't see a lot of these. So I'm just going to zip tie it on there, so let me show you that. So we just zip tied it in place, trim off the excess from the zip tie, and then continue with wiring this within, so weaving it in and out of the wreath holder until it goes all the way around. Placing the leaves as you go so that the leaves are facing outwards. Because you want to make sure that you can see all the leaves. So what I like to do is the stems of them, I like to hide underneath the leaves as you're going around, and just make sure that you're placing the leaves over top. Okay, this time let's use a wire. So these are just like really tiny wires that I got from the dollar store. They're black, so they'll camouflage in, and they're a little bit tricky to wrap around at first, but once you get used to it, they're pretty easy. They're really flimsy, so it's easy to sort of weave them in and out. So basically what I do is I hold it with my thumb on one side, and then I take the other end and I weave it within the wire, and I pull it really tight, and then I just keep doing that. Sort of like I'm sewing with the wire. Weaving it around and around, and then pulling it tight every time you go around so that it's nice and tight on there. And the wires that I got are really long, so you'll probably have a lot of excess. You don't need to go around too many times, just like 3 or 4 times, just to hold it in place. Okay, so I've wrapped that around 3 or 4 times, and then I'm just gonna trim off the excess and wrap the other end fully around so nothing's poking out. Okay, so we have finished wrapping the first piece of garland around, so it looks something like this. And then you're gonna continue doing that with the second piece of garland with the berries on it. So you're just gonna do the exact same thing, making sure as you're placing it so that the berries are facing outwards and that it just looks right as you go. Welcome back, Basic Witches. So I have put the other piece of garland on. As you can see, it's starting to come together. It's starting to look like a wreath. There are still some spaces that are pretty sparse, but don't worry about that because we're going to fill them in. So the next thing we're going to do is put this aside, and then we're going to take our little pumpkins. We have like little gourd ones too, and a few pine cones, and we're going to attach those. So the first thing that we need to do is attach a wire to each of these. We're going to poke a wire through and then attach it with some hot glue. And then once those are set, then we can attach them to the wreath. So the first thing we'll do is grab a piece of wire and one of the pumpkins, and you're just going to poke it through the bottom. Find a soft spot somewhere. Hopefully you're able to get it through. There we go. And then once it's in there, I like to push it through as much as I can, sort of wiggling the wire around, making sure it's in there. And then as you're wiggling it, because the wire's bending and curving, it'll make it harder for it to come out. Okay, and then once it's kind of in there, just set it aside. So continue doing that with the rest of the pumpkins. And then for the pine cones, what we're going to do is we're going to just place the wire in between and hold it on one of the little leaves, I guess you call them, and just wrap the wire around, intertwining it, making sure that it can hold, and you want to leave probably about that much wire so that we can attach it to the actual wreath. So once you've wrapped it around a couple times, leave some extra wire there. Okay, and then once you've attached all your wire to your pine cones and your pumpkins, you're gonna apply a little dab of hot glue just where the wire meets the pumpkin, just to hold it in place and make sure that the wire stays in there. So just grab our hot glue gun and just place a little dollop right there. And you're not gonna see this because it's gonna be underneath, so it's fine that there's like a big little dollop of glue there. And then just place that aside and let it dry. And do that with the rest of them. Okay, so now the glue has dried on the little pumpkins, so we're ready to put the pumpkins and the pine cones on. So in these little sparse areas, there's some here, some there, you're gonna place the pumpkins and the pine cones. I usually like to even them out throughout. So what you're going to do is you're just going to grab one of the pumpkins, say we're going to place it here, you're going to take the excess wire and just wrap it around one of the exposed wires, and it should hold it on there pretty good. Alright guys, so we have finished adding the pumpkins and the pine cones. It's looking pretty good now. If you wanted to leave it this color, you can definitely do that, but the look I'm going for is black. So I'm going to take some spray paint and I'm going to spray it all black. I'm going to leave a little bit of orange peeking through just so it adds that little bit of fall colors to it. And then after I've done spray painting it black, I'm going to go in with a white spray paint and I'm just going to add a few speckles of white here and there. So I'm going to go outside, spray paint this, and then we will meet back after. It looks like this, so it's starting to look pretty creepy. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to attach the doll heads. So we're going to attach those with our zip ties. So let's go ahead and do that. So these are the doll heads that we have. I just got these from the dollar store. Like I said, Dollarama, they were I think $2 each. So what I've done is I poked a couple of holes in the back just with a knife so that I can string the zip tie through and then attach it to the wreath and wire it through a couple of the frame wires on the wreath. And you're going to want to determine where you want the heads and just make sure that there's room for them. So I have 4 heads, so I'm just going to make sure that they all fit and then find a spot for them and attach them with the zip ties. All right, beautiful. So we've attached all of the doll heads. Super creepy. The last step that we're going to do is we're going to intertwine some orange lights in between just to give it a little bit of a glow. So again, I got these at Dollarama, great value. They're just a little package of LED lights. It was $2, they're battery operated, so I got some batteries from the dollar store too. So we're going to take these. And you're going to want to use a couple of zip ties again to secure the battery pack to the back of the wreath, just to hold it in place. Make sure that you put your batteries in first before you secure it. When you do secure it though, you're going to want it to be a little bit loose just so that as the batteries run out, you can still take the cover off, replace the batteries and put it back in. If not, you can just cut the zip ties and then re-zip it on if you want to. I feel like it's Christmas time and I'm trying to untangle Christmas lights. Okay, we got it. So wherever you determine the top of your wreath is, that's sort of where you're going to want the battery pack. So I figure this is probably a good spot for the top here. So I'm going to place the battery pack right in here on the inside. So I'll place it right in there. Zip tie it in with 2 zip ties. Okay, that's perfect. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to take the remaining wire and sort of weave it in and out of all the decorations that are on the wreath. Just going around, keeping in mind how much length you have because you want to get all the way around. And then the end of the wire, you're just going to sort of wrap around one of the either existing wires on the frame or one of the decorations, however you can secure it. And there you have your Halloween creepy doll head wreath. I hope you liked this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, hit that bell so you stay up to date with all of Dreadful D's creations, and we will see you next time.